Welcome to the Really Useful Podcast. My name is Christian Cawley from makeuseof.com, and with me is one of my MUO colleagues. It's Gavin Phillips. Hey.
How you doing, Christian?
I'm well. Yourself?
Very well, very well. I mean, lovely wet Cornwall.
Lovely wet Cornwall. Was it wet down there, is it?
It was very damp, yeah, very, very damp. And today I went and bought a rabbit as well, so it's been an interesting day.
Okay. That's as techie as it gets on the Really Useful Podcast. We are, of course, the the tech podcast for technophobes and anyone else who wants to listen. And you can subscribe to us on Spotify or iTunes, or we're also on Transmission, which is our home. I seem to be quite chatty this evening. I've possibly overdosed on coffee somewhat to keep myself going for this week's show, and I'm also looking at watching Game of Thrones after recording this, which I'm quite excited about. So I may have trouble focusing on things, but you can subscribe to the Really Useful Podcast pretty much anywhere, even on YouTube, and the places where you find podcasts, you will find us there. And you'll find us at makeuseof.com as well. Gavin, you don't watch Game of Thrones, do you?
No, I never have. But I think when it all finishes, when season 8 wraps up, I will delve into it then, because it seems like a good time to start binge watching it once the hype is over.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't watch it from the beginning. I think we started watching about 3 years ago, up to sort of season 4 or 5, I think, and then watched it, annually from then. Binge watching is a great thing, isn't it? You just sit there and it's take everything in. But I hear from a friend of mine who's watched Game of Thrones from the beginning and then binge watched the previous 7 series over the past month, that it has a different feel if you binge watch it.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah. So some of the characters who you would normally only see a little bit over the course of 9 years or so, when you watch them all together, their impact differs somewhat. So that's quite interesting. Obviously, if you haven't seen them in the original form of weekly and then annually, then you wouldn't know this. But that's quite an interesting insight. So on this week's Really Useful Podcast, we are going to be looking at the following topics. Disney unveils its Disney Plus streaming service. YouTube TV is getting a price hike. Dear. What is IPTV and is it legal? And we'll try and squeeze in a few how-tos on transferring photos and text messages, and looking at the best Microsoft alternatives for Mac users. And we may even look at uninstalling programs on Windows 10 the fast way. But let's get on with Disney. Disney, the media giant, has unveiled Disney Plus. It's long-awaited and much-anticipated streaming service. Disney has been streaming stuff for a while, but this is Disney's Netflix, basically. It's going to launch in the US in November and will cost $6.99 a month or $69.99 a year, which is cheaper than Netflix.
It's very competitive, isn't it?
Yeah. And such big names, big content. It's box office, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of wall to wall box office, isn't it? The stuff they're putting out at launch is quite exciting. And I remember we talked about this in the first season of the Really Useful Podcast, you and I, and we were looking at it there, match up and how they compete with Netflix and HBO and all this sort of stuff. And you can see from the initial lineup that they've gone all guns blazing to do that, haven't they?
Totally. We're looking at shows like The Mandalorian, which is the Boba Fett show. Basically, you've got original programming that also includes The Falcon and The Winter Soldier and WandaVision from Marvel. The World According to Jeff Goldblum from National Geographic, which frankly I've got to see.
Yeah, that's something that really caught my eye. I was like, oh, that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah. This is. When it comes to November, obviously the US is going to decide whether this fails or succeeds. I can't see this failing unless there's serious like networking hardware routing issues, really.
No, and given how much they're pouring into it, you'd expect them to have the back end of it all worked out really well.
Yeah.
It will switch on and it will be good. I can well imagine. They won't want it to fail, given how long people have been talking it up, and now they've set a date for it. They know that they've got a cap on when it needs to be live, so they can. It's Disney. They've got so much money they can funnel into it to make sure everything goes off without a hitch on the day. Plus, they're going to have it on Apple TV as well, I believe. Smart TVs, consoles, mobile platforms, digital media players like Roku boxes and all that sort of stuff, and content streaming of 4K and with HDR. So all those things are going to be. They're going for the entire market, and it is quite impressive, I've got to say.
Yeah. I mean, basically, if you're a fan of Disney movies or Pixar, of Marvel, of Star Wars.
Simpsons as well, all 30 seasons.
Of course, yeah, because if the deal with Fox, yeah.
Yeah, Malcolm in the Middle, just goes on, doesn't it?
It does, really. It does. All under one umbrella in one streaming service. You lucky US users, you've got this. you can just buy this, and from November you can have a great Christmas watching this. Here in the UK, we're going to be thinking, can we use a VPN for this? Will it work? So that's that. Now, the flip side of this news is not so much a problem with Disney. It's YouTube TV, which I don't know anyone who uses YouTube TV. They're now upping the subscription to $50 a month. That's up from the original $35, which then stopped at $40 in March 2018. And you get a bunch of channels, but TNT, CNN, Cartoon Network. Do you know anyone who uses YouTube TV, Gavin?
I've not in the UK. I think it is a very much a US based product. Having said that, I'm not sure if any of the rest of the MUO team use it. Not that I'm aware of, anyway.
No, I've never heard anyone mentioning it.
No. The things they've added to it as well. I've noticed on a few forums people have said they wanted these programs adding to it. So if you are using it, the Discovery Channel, Travel Channel, Animal Planet, Investigation Discovery, Motor Trend, the Food Network, and TLC. YouTube will also be adding the Oprah Winfrey Network later this year. So that all comes in the cost of it. But like you were saying, I think it's basically going back towards the point you might as well have a cable connection for that sort of price, because it's all the standard cable channels, really.
It is a strange, and I think some of these you can get free to air as well. So it does seem a strange. As the article by Dave Parrott states, this feels like a step backwards. People being charged for channels they had no interest in watching. Paying $55 a month if you've been paid through Apple for channels that you're not going to watch. It's it seems like a very cynical piece of marketing from YouTube. As I said, I don't know anyone who uses it. If you use it and you're listening to this and you use YouTube TV, or if you've tried YouTube TV, do get in touch with us and let us know what sold it to you, whether you do like it or whether you think this is, the last straw. Because, cutting the cord is about saving money and enjoying the media that you want to enjoy, not having, every show piped into your home and you're only watching like 5% of it. So, as Gavin says, so yeah, it is a strange state of affairs, which brings us to IPTV quite nicely, I think. This is Internet Protocol Television. It's been around for a long time. I remember having an IPTV app, which was produced by a legitimate, I should underline, Russian software developers on Windows Mobile. Shows you how long ago this was.
That was a lot of words in there, wasn't it? Windows Mobile, Russian software devs.
Oh, yeah. But so going back probably 10, 11, 12 years now, I got a free piece of software because I was writing about Windows Mobile software at the time quite a lot, and they sent me this. I can't remember the name of the developers, but they released a few things. They're one of the few developers that were making money on Windows Mobile, and it was a nice IPTV app, Internet Protocol Television, enabling me to watch TV broadcast over the web. Now, obviously, I ate up a lot of data doing this, but and it was pretty low-fi. I think it was probably 480p. But there was a lot of channels, and IPTV now is covers all sorts of things, such as iFlayer and Fox, some plugins on Kodi. Even Cheddar TV, which I was on a couple of years ago for Make Use of, singing Bohemian Rhapsody.
Your finest hour.
My finest hour. That's an incidental aspect. That's not the reason. I didn't go on there to sing Bohemian Rhapsody. I went on there to talk about some Make Use of related tech topics.
I think you should put a link for that in the show notes if anyone wants to see Christian singing.
I would, I would, but I don't think it exists anymore.
Oh, that is a shame for the listeners.
Absolutely. So, IPTV is legal. Have you used IPTV, Gavin? I mean, I know obviously you've used iPlayer and other streaming things, but have you used that hardcore IPTV where they give you 50 channels that you can watch in an app or on a website or whatever?
I've not personally, but my dad did experiment with it for a while when he was umming and ahhing between subscribing to Sky and getting all the channels, and he was looking at alternatives to do it because they just had Virgin Superfast installed in their home, which in the UK gives you between 100 to 200 megabyte connection. So suddenly that became a viable option for him. He didn't get on with it. It wasn't in the end his sort of thing. He didn't get on with the channel selection and what have you. But what he did say was that on a good connection, he found the quality of the streams really good. So it can be an option, but I do think it depends on how fast your internet is. If you're lagging along on a 10 megabyte connection, it might not be the best things in HD and what have you. So you have to bear that sort of thing in mind, because it is all, obviously it's in the name, it's all IP based. So
absolutely. I remember last summer I was using the TV Player app which is a UK IPTV app website, and I was using it. My children were in a dance competition. I was using it to watch the World Cup.
Brilliant.
So it has its benefits. Now there are legal and illegal IPTV services and streams. It's the big details of this are in the article by Dan Price, which as with every topic that we discuss on the Really Useful podcast, you will be able to find in the show notes for this week's show. I would say that the big name IPTV services are the ones to stick with, and you can check on Reddit to find out which things you should be using and which ones you shouldn't. Some of the subscription services, I would probably say avoid them if possible, unless they're reputable and they are backed by the network providers of the content.
One of the readers of the article has actually commented and said, a great rule of thumb is that if it's not sold through a reputable retailer and only spoken of in a backroom forum or website, it's probably not legal. And you are potentially streaming something that is illegal. If you are streaming illegal content, people will find out. So just be aware of that.
Absolutely. And if it's a mobile app, you check the reviews on the platform that you're using, and you will find very quickly whether or not the product is illegal or whether it's an approved piece of software. So that's IPTV, and is it legal? Most of the time, yes, but quite often it's not. So do your research, do your due diligence before you install and subscribe to anything. Gavin, have you ever found yourself struggling to transfer photos from your Android phone to your PC?
Frequently.
Well, that's fortunate.
Do you have a solution?
I have several solutions. I mean, this is a thing that we go out, we take photos on our phones, we have text messages on our phones, we might need to back up the data on our phones for a reset or to sell the phone, or you might just want to take the photos off your phone and put them on your PC. There might be, you might be using a mobile word processor and want to save your work from your phone to your PC. There's all manner of reasons to get that data off your phone to your computer. With, I mean, it does depend on what platform you're using. With current, certainly with Android, which is what we're talking about here, it is pretty simple to turn your Android phone into a storage device simply by connecting it to USB, from USB on your phone to USB on your PC, and then unlock the phone and pull down the little notification at the top, which will give you the option to use your phone as a storage device and browse it from your computer. That's the simplest way of doing it. There are other options. Do you have an actual option that you use, Gavin?
Yeah, I do tend to go for the plug-in option. Alternatively, I upload directly to Google Drive.
Right.
Depending on how many photos I'm trying to process. The other thing, I've got a Samsung S8, so I've used the Samsung Side Sync. Well, that was a lot of S's, wasn't it? But I've used that at times. You can browse your phone directly from your computer and use it as if you were using the phone in your hand. So that's quite handy as well. And doing that, you can also send messages straight from your phone. Or if you don't, say you didn't have WhatsApp installed on your desktop or laptop, you could use the Samsung Side Sync WhatsApp on your phone through the screen. Your phone appears on your screen, and you use your mouse and keyboard as you would on your normal desktop. So that's a good option for Samsung users.
Okay, did you download that separately or did it install from your phone?
The Side Sync app is available in the Google Play Store. I don't think it comes pre-installed, but it is available. It's safe. It's an official Samsung app.
Okay, useful. I've got a Samsung tablet, so I didn't know about that. I keep it very simple. Occasionally, if there's something I need to get off my phone in a hurry, then I use a cable, USB cable. But most of the time, my preferred option is Dropbox.
Oh, okay.
It's super fast, especially when you plug in to the mains. It'll do over Wi-Fi, even if you're down to 1%. And usually stuff syncs really quickly, so I can quite easily just sync straight to my PC, and I can pick it up. Useful for screenshots and things like that. Useful for photos. Sorry, that's my phone hitting the table there. Useful for photos. Useful for pretty much everything. So yeah, that's my option. Now you can check the details of what the best options to transfer photos and text from your Android to your PC in the article in the show notes. There is one other thing which I've used over the years, which is the mobile app that syncs with your PC desktop, which I've forgotten the name of. And Droid.
It was AirDroid, but I think that was
AirDroid.
That was a push one, wasn't it?
The push one, yeah. It is AirDroid is what I'm thinking of, yeah. But I did find that started getting a bit laggy, so I'm not sure whether there's like an issue with the software for that or what.
Well, they a couple of years back, if I remember rightly, and I hope I am right before I besmirch their name, but they changed their terms of conditions, and suddenly their free package, which was really good, wasn't so good anymore. There were lots more restrictions on file size, transfer rates, and other things that would become quite quickly irritating unless you were upgrading to a pro subscription. I'm really hoping I've got that right, but I do remember uninstalling it for that reason. You might try Push Bullet, which I believe is also quite a good alternative to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything like that is quite handy, really.
So that's options for syncing data, moving data from photos, text messages, anything really from your Android phone or tablet to your PC. Now I did mention word processing there. which I do tend to do more on my tablet than on my phone, in all honesty, because it's a lot easier to type. Now, one of the things on the Really Useful podcast we've never spoken about, and this is like our 21st show, we've never really spoken, and so, apologies to all of you who this affects, we've never really spoken about macOS.
That's rude of us.
Isn't it just? No. So if you do use a Mac, or you're thinking about switching to using a MacBook or an iMac or any Apple PC, and you're concerned about Microsoft Office, there are various alternatives that you can use. The key one is Google Suite, because you can use that on any computer, really. It's a cloud-based word processor. You could use LibreOffice, which is open source word processor Office suite. Or you could use Apple's iWork suite, which is, from memory, is very good and in places better than Microsoft Office, in other places not quite as good as Microsoft Office. Have you ever owned a Mac, Gavin?
Well, the Hackintosh count?
Yeah, that counts. Yeah,
I've hacked together a few of those in my time. I've never had an Apple laptop or desktop hardware, but yeah, I've cobbled together Hackintoshes and used bits of Mac software. iWork's good, if I remember rightly. I haven't used it for a few years, but I remember being quite impressed with it. As a very long-term Microsoft Office user, I was impressed.
Yeah, sure, same here. About 10 years ago, I had an iMac, which was one of the pre-Intel devices. So it used the old chipset. So this was before the days where you could install Windows on an iMac, basically, listener. And I had a lot of fun with it. Unfortunately, it had a bit of a hardware issue, so it didn't last as long as I would have liked it to. Sadly, it was one of those hardware issues that Apple PCs were kind of known for before they switched to Intel. And if you had it for too long and it didn't have that issue, then you weren't really eligible for a replacement. So a bit of a shame. Office Online, if you are absolutely bedded into the Microsoft Office environment, then you can access Office Online. And you can also edit Office documents in Dropbox on any Dropbox supporting platform. So, yeah, there are plenty of options for Microsoft Office alternatives on macOS. I think the thing with moving platforms is there is always going to be, unless you're moving to Linux, I suppose, there is always, if you're swapping between Windows and macOS, you are going to be spending money at some point on software.
Yeah, it's inescapable, really.
Yeah.
There's always something you can do to find a fix for the software that you love that you're potentially leaving behind. And I think more and more software devs are trying to be cross-platform, aren't they? Even with Linux. But there was always going to be one or two pain points, if you will. But you can always work around them as well, like this. There's lots of different fantastic free software suites. So I'd throw a Calligra suite in there as well, if for another alternative to Microsoft Office for Mac. It's got some very good options in there.
Okay, good call. As ever, you can find out the full details of that in our show notes. Now, back to Windows. You've probably found that you've installed something on Windows at some point in your life that you didn't particularly want on there. And the solution? Uninstall it. Now, I think uninstalling things on Windows is a lot simpler than it used to be. Because at one time, you click after click after click after click, get to the control panel, get the programs list, add and move programs. And it would take a while as well, especially if it was, a little bit, shall we say, a bit rogue, the software. It is very easy to accidentally uninstall things on Windows. Not as easy now as it used to be, but, it can still happen. And you can end up with a PC with a load of bloatware. If you buy from, the pre-installed version of Windows, and you're getting a HP or a Dell or Asus or Acer or whatever you're buying, you're going to find that there is bloatware on there. I mean, I'm looking at mine now. I've had this computer for about 6 months, and Candy Crush Saga and Candy Crush Soda Saga, games I've never played, came pre-installed. I haven't got round to uninstalling them yet because I'm that busy.
You can thank Microsoft for those ones as well.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, I've got a Netflix app apparently, Asus product registration. I've got a LinkedIn app that I didn't know about. Asus keyboard hotkeys. I've got a Dolby Access app. I'm not sure what that is. So yeah, you kind of think, ooh, do I want that? No. If you don't want that, it's a good idea to uninstall it, because you can find in some cases, you've got apps that are taking up massive chunks of your hard disk drive.
Mm.
Now, what's your preferred way of uninstalling something on Windows?
I'm still a fan of the control panel, the kind of, I'm not going to say old school because I don't think it is, but go to the programs and software list, find the program, see what you want, programs and features list, and uninstall that way. And Google will guide you through. Like you said, it's a lot easier these days. It's normally a 1 or 2 click process. Remove the files, folders, and most of the time you get an option to keep your settings. If it's a program you think you might actually reinstall in the future and you've set something custom up, you can save that setting, but it will be an option within the specific uninstaller. But sometimes programs leave things behind, don't they?
They do indeed. Which is when we need uninstallers, isn't it? Like CCleaner, which, it still does the job, but, you may want to uninstall CCleaner once you're done as well, because it has had some bad reputational issues of late. Another one is Revo Uninstaller. There's also IOBit. But, you may find that some security software that you're using also has an uninstall tool. And there may be cases when that security software is a better option than anything else. A lot of this is really what works for you. Half the time these days, I find myself just going to the start menu, right-clicking the app and clicking uninstall.
Yeah, it's nice they've added that sort of functionality to it. Was it like Windows 7? You couldn't do that.
No.
So
I think it was introduced in Windows 8.1, I think, introduced that.
Mm.
So yeah, that does make things a lot easier, I think. It saves time, it saves messing around. You don't get the same set of information that you get using the method that Gavin explained, but it's just a quick and easy way of doing it. So there you go. Well, we've hit the end of the Really Useful podcast, Gavin.
It's been a whirlwind.
It's a whirlwind. Indeed it has. Now, as ever, you can listen to us through the methods described earlier. Now, next week's show is going to be the last one until June. We're having a Facebook security special, or Facebook privacy special, I should say, next time to, you can use it to celebrate Easter if you like, and, have a chocolate egg whilst you listen to myself and James through, discussing recent security privacy concerns with Facebook and possible solutions you might want to undertake. That's next week's show. For this week, just a quick reminder on what we've discussed. We've taken a look at Disney Plus, YouTube TV's insane price hike, and whether or not IPTV is legal. We have also given you a few tips on the best Microsoft Office alternatives, how to transfer data from your phone to Windows, and how to uninstall games and apps on Windows 10. This has been the Really Useful podcast from makeuseof.com. We are the tech podcast for technophobes. If there is anyone out there who you feel would benefit from what we've been talking about, because the idea of the show is basically to make the tech topics that are important digestible for everyone. Pass us around, share us, link us, give us to anyone, and let them know what we're doing and how we're doing it and why we're doing it. And if the benefit of our experience as technology guiding hands and writers at makeuseof.com and further afield, because I think most of us work beyond Make Use Of. We all got our fingers in lots of different pies and expertise in different topics here on the Really Useful podcast and at Make Use Of. I don't think I can add anything to that. So from myself, Christian Cawley, and Gavin Phillips, and the rest of the Really Useful podcast team, until next time, it's goodbye.
Bye-bye.